you could start with, I'm making a contribution, because you exist. That's just a sentence already, and it has some direction and some connection to your heart. You're making a contribution. And then you can play with to what or to whom or in what part of the world, for what values. It's really about playing with it and not wanting the right perfect answer right away. By saying it, you get feedback from how you feel. It becomes clearer and clearer.
To introduce Anouk, she is an international expert in leadership development. She's also a certified trainer in a specific method called leadership embodiment. She's going to take us into that today. She's also an executive coach, a speaker, and her methodology combines biology, mindfulness, martial arts, leadership embodiment, and also techniques from professional or top sports.
So I'm just looking at your faces. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for all your work, all the participants. I don't even know you yet, and I don't know what you're doing, but I know if you choose to spend your time on a course with this title, that you're probably doing good stuff in the world. It would be good to start us off with a meditation on how to deal with all the suffering in the world and still manage to live our life sustainably and do our work. After that, I'll go more into leadership and how you can use leadership embodiment as a way to be your best self also under pressure. Because if you're not under pressure, I guess you're already brilliant, right? It's more like, how can you do it while there's a challenging situation in a positive or a negative sense? One of the big topics for today is what I call the big triangle, is a way to give yourself more focus and flow by connecting to your inspiration and your purpose, and how you could do that on a daily basis and for important meetings to shift your state to a nice, resourceful state that you can bring your best self to the table. Let's start with meditation then. Go ahead and make yourself upright and comfortable if you're able to. If you're sitting, you can have your feet on the floor, your sit bones on the chair. And try to have a relaxed yet awake posture. And then let's start with a centering practice where we notice our body, feeling our feet on the floor. And when we breathe in, we can lengthen the spine and the neck just a little bit more. And breathing out, releasing any tension. Nice long exhales. So do that at your own pace. Breathing in and up, lengthening, breathing out and down, relaxing. Every breath lands you more fully in your body and in this moment. So we can more fully arrive here and now with ourselves. And then we can also become aware of the space directly around us. Working with this space is an important part in what I'll be sharing with you today. So the space around you, at least an arm's length to all sides, is part of this meditation. Behind us, to the left, to the right, in front, above and below. And then I'll read you a quote from Joanna Macy. This is a dark time, filled with suffering and uncertainty. Like living cells in a larger body, it's natural that we feel the trauma of our world. So don't be afraid of the anguish you feel, or the anger or fear, because these responses arise from the depth of our caring and the truth of your interconnectedness with all beings. And perhaps you can connect to one thing in the world that you worry about. I know there's many things that we could worry about, but pick one for now. And then notice how that makes you feel. Is it more anger or sadness, despair, or something else? Hope? Whatever feeling comes up when you think of this situation in the world, notice it. We can accept that it's there. Often, when we see the news, we kind of automatically want to close off because it's all so much. But now we purposely are present with this feeling. And then we could wish for ourselves the opposite of this feeling. So if it's a negative feeling, what would be the opposite positive feeling that you would like to wish for yourself? So maybe I'm fearful and I could wish relaxation or ease or joy. Pick a positive quality, a positive experience or feeling, and wishing this feeling to yourself. What would it be like with a little bit more of that positive feeling? And then we can imagine that we're not the only ones in the world struggling sometimes with this negative feeling that we just had. So connecting to the larger circle of people who also have this negative feeling sometimes, we can send them our best wishes and wish for them to have that positive feeling. How do you want to label it? It's up to you. Imagine sending them that positive feeling. Or if it's a specific situation you were thinking of, perhaps you can imagine sending good things to that situation. I know it's not enough to just send good thoughts, but it does help at least ourselves and maybe also others. So this is also a quick meditation you could do when you read something terrible. You could stop, sense your negative emotion, and then send yourself and the people involved a positive emotion. And now let's zoom out in time and space, because yes, these are dark times, but humanity has always felt that way, that now these are really dark times. And there's also many good things. So many things are better now than they were before. So let's bring that into the picture. Zooming out, noticing which things are actually improving. And then we can zoom out even further to what you could call the isness. It's just the way it is, isn't it? So we can be aware of reality the way it is right now. And how could it be any other way? There's also a perspective in which it's perfectly fine the way it is, because it is. Maybe you can get a sense of that too. And then we come back to our sensation of the body, your feet on the floor, your sit bones on the chair. Breathing in, growing taller, breathing out, relaxing. And connect to your heartfelt purpose in the world. What is it that you are contributing to? We don't have to do it all by ourselves. We're doing it together. And what is your contribution to this? Connect to the felt sense of that. And then we'll round off the meditation part. So if you want, you can have a stretch. If your eyes were closed, you can open them again. That might be something that you already do or that you might want to pick up doing, especially when you feel bogged down or stressed out. I build on work of Wendy Palmer. She developed leadership embodiment from inspiration from Aikido and mindfulness and some other things because she wanted to teach people these principles that she was learning on the Aikido martial art studio and on her meditation cushion. And she wanted to make the principles available to anybody. Ken Wilber, I discovered his work in 2006, found out that I wasn't done with my development, apparently. So that's been part of my inspiration ever since. And also, if you like this embodiment work, you could check out Mark Walsh. His YouTube channel has amazing resources. So there's other types of meditation too. Often you find calm focus, mindfulness meditation. Meditation is a good idea, but it's important to find your own lineage or tradition or your own way. Some people really don't like meditating sitting. Maybe they do mindful running or something else, but some kind of practice, it comes out of all the research, later stages of leadership developments, how important mindfulness or meditation practice is. Most of us know the calm focus, mindfulness, like watching your breath or being with your breath. Then you can do kindness and compassion meditation. The first part of what we just did was that, wishing yourself, others, and the whole world well. Then you could also do more like big picture contemplation about the inevitability of change and death and impermanence. And this comes from Buddhism, and they seem to be a bit dark sometimes, but actually, it can be super freeing to impermanence, realize that everything is changing, because it also means that there's endless potential and flourishing. And then what turns out to have the most effect, the quickest effect, if you look at the research on meditation, is gratitude. To do a daily gratitude practice where, for instance, at the end of the day, you write down or you share with people 3 things you're grateful for. Often the things that come up are not like the huge big projects we were doing. They're like small moments that were wonderful. The quickest meditation in action I call centering or turbo centering, and I'll be sharing that with you. So I had one slide about gratitude. I like this laughing Buddha. Let's rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let's be thankful. It always makes me laugh. So this turbo centering practice is a quick way to recover to a more balanced, more resourceful state when you're under pressure. Can be positive or negative pressure, can be stress, can be a really challenging meeting, or it can be you're so excited for a certain project that you're kind of racing too hard. And the centering practice can help you to find that sweet spot between relaxation and awake, so you can actually be present in the moment. It goes very easily. If you join me now, you can do it sitting up, Your posture is upright and relaxed. You inhale up, lengthen your spine. Long exhale down the front of your body, relaxing. You can do another inhale, thinking of someone or something that makes you smile. And then exhale that smile and radiate the warmth that you might be feeling out into the space around you. That's the third step, space. Be aware of the space around you to all sides. And then activating a quality. You could ask, what would it be like with a little bit more ease, focus, power, or something else? The default is ease. It's always a good idea to have a little bit more ease. And by asking that question, what would it be like with a little bit more ease? That's how you could ask your body to answer the question. And you get into inquiry mode. You're curious, what would it be like with a little bit more ease in my body right now? And then 2 seconds later, some muscles relax or a smile emerges or something else. And let's try out another quality, maybe power. What would it be like with a little bit more power in my body right now? And instead of thinking what that would be like, is more asking the body to cultivate it. What would it be like with a little bit more power in my body right now? And maybe you feel a slight shift. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes very clear. So that means you can also adjust your vibe, your state of being in the moment for whatever you need a little bit more of, whatever the meeting is calling for. Sometimes you need more focus, sometimes you need more trust. You can choose. So the way to remember this is Pisa. It's like a leaning tower, right? It doesn't fall over, but it is a slight leaning in. So you sit upright, but then you lean in just slightly from the hips. And that actually gives you really nice posture to relax and be stable at the same time. If you've ever seen a baby sit with the feet in front of them, they also have that slightly forward leaning and then relaxing, and they're very strong. If you try to push them over, it's really hard to do. That's the turbo centering. If you only remember one thing from today, I hope it's this one. If we're doing climate advocacy work in the world or sustainability work or something with making the world a better place, then often a big part of what fuels our work is also these negative emotions, right? Like anger, sadness, or fear, despair. So that's tricky because if that's our fuel, then maybe we run a chance of a burnout because it's not sustainable for our own bodies and our own health, mental health, and physical health to be in those states a lot of the time. But it's not only that, I'm sure. We also have hope and dedication that drives us. We have inspiration and love. And it's not that we don't want these anger, sadness, fear emotions. They're part of the human experience. But what is a nice way to think about it is that you could watch the balance. That our nervous system to function well, to not freak out, needs at least 51% inspiration and love, and then it can handle 49% of anger, sadness, despair. But once the balance tips, our survival system takes over and we get into a stress loop, or we can't sleep at night, or we just work, 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 trying to save the world, and then work ourselves into a burnout. And here's another Joanna Macy quote: "You don't need to do everything. Do what calls your heart. Effective action comes from love. It's unstoppable and it's enough." I like reminding us that we don't need to do it all by ourselves. That's when we were 3 years old, we wanted to do everything by ourselves. And often we still have that drive of working really hard and doing a lot of things by ourselves. We're not alone. We might as well do what calls to our heart because that energizes us. And then we have more to give instead of do something that depletes you. And then sometimes people wonder, if I give up my anger or my fear, will I just stop doing? Actually, love acts. Love wants to help, wants to improve the situation, wants to make suffering less. So we don't need to be afraid that if we drop our anger or let our anger get smaller, that we won't do things anymore. Power without love is reckless and abusive. Can we imagine that? Love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. So you could say leadership embodiment is about embodying power, love, and wisdom. And in our body, we imagine the power being in our belly or hara center, which is a Japanese term for the center of gravity in our body, the belly. Love, we imagine being in and around the heart, and wisdom or justice, we imagine in and around our head. So we work with three centers in leadership embodiment. This is my definition of leadership: offering inspired direction to yourself and others with focus and flow so we can all reach meaningful results, also under pressure. So it starts with ourselves. It has something to do with as an inspired direction. And we'd like to have some focus and some flow. Just focus gets too tense, and just flow goes everywhere. So we want to go somewhere that's meaningful. And we'd like to be able to do that also under pressure. 3 dimensions of leadership. I think you've come across it in different ways in the course, but it all comes down to the same idea that it's not just skills or competencies that are part of our development, but also our stage development, also called vertical development, right? That sounds familiar probably, and our state development. And what we're doing today is state development, self-regulation. In the picture here, you see the red part and the green part. And so these are 3 axes: horizontal development, vertical development, and depth development. And the big green part is you on your best day. And you're in the flow and you're amazing and brilliant. And the red part is you on your worst day. You're stressed and unkind and reactive, and everything is going wrong, and you're just not your best self. And I'm sure we all know both these states. And the centering helps us to go from the red part back to the green part in a really quick and smooth way. That turbo centering process, PISA, posture, inhale, exhale, space awareness, and if you want, activating a quality. But just the first 3 steps also work. Stress makes you stupid, flow makes you fantastic. What happens is when we're under pressure, these higher brain parts go offline and we don't have empathy, innovation, self reflection, creativity, information processing, and intuition. They go on holiday temporarily until we have centered ourselves in some way, on purpose or by accident, and then they come back online. And this is the Leadership Embodiment book, and this is Wendy Palmer who designed it, basically. And the subtitle of the book is How the Way We Sit and Stand Can Change the Way We Think and Speak. We're using the body and the breath and the focus to shift our state. It works the other way around. If we're anxious, then we get tense, right? And the breathing gets higher and less regular, and the heart rate goes up. So if we do consciously power or confidence and connection and clarity, if we do the body that's part of that, then actually we will start to feel like that, and we will start to think like that and act like that. So it's like a shortcut that you can use, and it works usually better than telling yourselves you don't need to be nervous. That doesn't work so well for most people, but this works pretty quickly. So the body that goes with confidence, connection, and clarity is the centered body, is the breathing in and up, growing taller, out and down, relaxing, becoming aware of the space around you, carrying on with your day. It's a one breath version. If you want to embody your leadership using the leadership embodiment techniques, then you can use these 3 things. You can become more aware of what inspires and supports you. We call it your posse because it's like the gang behind you and they want you to succeed. This can be sources of inspiration like the Dalai Lama, Wendy Palmer, Obama, Michelle. It can be Brad Pitt, whatever works for you. I don't know. And support can also be closer to home, like colleagues or a partner or a friend. It's important that when you think of that, you feel something as well. So not just a nice idea. The second part of the big triangle is the quality of being. You could also call it your vibe, your quality of presence. So when we're centered, we're kind of, I'm Anouk, but in a kind of centered Anouk way. And then if I would want to add a certain flavor, I could add more power or more focus or more lightness, whatever I want or whatever the situation asks for. So that's the quality of presence. And you could think about what quality of being do I want to cultivate in my daily work? And you could have one or two words like focus and flow, or connectedness and dedication, or whatever works for you, that you remind yourself of every day. And then it will really start to grow and people will start to notice that shift in you. And the third thing is the focus on your contribution, your purpose. For instance, you could say, I bring more joy and wisdom in organizations with leadership embodiment. That could be my purpose. Or if I'm doing the purpose of a certain project, like when I was writing my first Dutch book on this topic, my purpose was I'm writing a juicy book on leadership. So you see that from the wording, it's not clear to everybody. As long as it's clear to me, I can always use something else when somebody asks me, what do you do? But this is for your own focus. Inspiration and support sources. Who's an example of how you want to be in the world or who supports you? And your quality of presence is about how do you want to be, whether your goals work out or not, so that you can be proud of how you were doing what you were doing, your way of being in the world. What do you naturally excel at? These things are often so logical for us because we kind of expect everybody to be like that, but that's actually our natural talent. So if you're actually quite funny, but you never use that in your work, why not? So you could have more of your humor, your lightness in your quality of presence. And the third one, the purpose, focusing on your contribution. So it could be a sentence like, I'm contributing to joy and wisdom in the workplace so we can achieve more good with less fuss. So you should be able to say it in one sentence, in one breath. From that, as long as it's true for you, it's fine. And also, this is also a work in progress. When you start to express it, that's when it starts to work its magic and when it starts to evolve. This also doesn't have to be perfect immediately. When you are centered using the short centering process, then you can use the triangle to embody it more fully.